Hi, I'm Stuart Ball for iGuitar Magazine, and I'm here with the fabulously talented and handsome and fit Mr. Phill Collen.
Cheers.
And I've got to say, Phill, I came to see Girl, the band you were in years and years ago, at the Marquee, I want to say.
Yeah, would have been.
And you don't look any different. What is going on with that?
Oh, no, it's not rocket science. It's like, don't do drugs, don't drink, and don't smoke. I mean, start right there. And
okay.
Then, yeah, and then everything else kind of falls into
place.
Yeah.
And before we go on to the music stuff, I want to just talk about something. You're into this real heavy fitness regime at the moment. I hear you're dieting training 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And you're doing a thing called shrink dieting.
What I'm doing at the moment is it's actually different to what I normally do. When we go on tour, I do the same thing. You know.
Yeah.
Weight workout, Muay Thai kickboxing, and a combination of the thing, of both really. And right now I'm doing a spin bike. I do that, and it's just to get to a certain point. Then you can relax a little bit, and then you can.
Haven't you got an event coming up, like I said, in LA? Tell us a little bit about that.
It's called the LA Fitness. It's a convention actually, expo, and me and Jean Carrillo, who's my coach and a really good friend of mine, he actually comes out on tours with Def Leppard as well, trains the guys. He's a world champion Muay Thai coach, and he used to be a European kickboxing champion and all that stuff. And he knows a bit about nutrition, the whole deal. So we just work it, you know, and he experiments with it. And we noticed, every year I get fitter than I was the year before. So I'm 53 now, and I do feel better than I did back when I was 20.
Right. So. And is it making the touring easier?
Yeah, it's the easiest part of the whole thing. As long as you don't get the flu, it's actually adorable. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, let's get on to the music stuff.
Yeah.
I know you guys had last year off, Def Leppard had last year off, and I hear you're doing a compilation of live hits.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to put some new stuff.
We are. It's live.
On the end.
Live and more. It's live plus other stuff. It's like whole live album, a DVD of live stuff, and 3 new tracks. We had 4 or 5 written, but we're only going to be able to finish 3 of them, to be quite honest.
And have you got a name for the record at all?
Yeah, we was calling it Mirror Ball. That was a working title. It's going to be called something else. So probably mention the live thing somehow. So yeah.
Now you guys have got one thing over a lot of other bands in terms of the backing vocals, you know, because I mean your records are amazingly produced. They always sound beautiful. I mean, you know that, everybody knows that. Is that something that you have to rehearse separately, something that you guys have to work on, you know, as a completely separate entity?
It was. I mean, I think with a lot of bands, they cheat or they can't sing. We're really fortunate. Everyone in the band could actually be a lead singer in a band. Well, actually I am. I'm in Man-Raze.
We'll get to that.
But everyone done it. It did take a lot of work, really, but I think we learned from Mutt Lange. He actually taught us how to sing and the style of how to sing and stuff. So that really helped having him with us, showing us what to do. But over the years, it's a very important part. It's almost like having another instrument in the band, and it features really heavily. You know, we have it in bridges, middle eights or pre-choruses, choruses.
Yeah.
So it's like it comes this other kind of.
It's almost like your keyboard player.
Absolutely.
I think. When I listen to Def Leppard, I always think they've kind of got a keyboard player that's being played by everybody's vocals.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's what it always sounds like to me.
And it's weird because just as a guitar player, you really have to go somewhere else with it. You know, you've got 2 gigs, if you like. You're a guitar player and you've got this backing vocal thing. It's not just like someone just shouting or screaming. They're very precise and everything. It was really annoying at first to work it all out, but once we kind of got it down.
And was it making the mouth shapes all the same and the starts and stops all the same?
Starts and stops and swoops, like you go, stuff like that. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but you know, you really have to get them. And after a while, they come natural. So stuff like that, you don't have to think about so much later on because we know what the other one's talking about. If someone suggests something.
Now, we were talking about Mutt Lange just now, and obviously you guys have worked, you know, very closely over the years. I know you did a country thing or like a guesting thing with Taylor Swift. For me, I actually think that Def Leppard have had quite a big influence over country music. I remember hearing a Shania Twain thing, and I was like, my God, that is Def Leppard with some put on it. I mean, have you found that kind of a...
Well, that was Mutt Lange because, again, you know, he was married to Shania Twain, wrote all the songs with her, and I think she was influenced by him as we were. I think what he did with us, he made rock music crossover to the masses. It was a real crossover album, Pyromania and especially Hysteria. Whereas if you were just a rock act, you'd sell maybe 2 million, which is a huge amount, but back then, like Ozzy or someone like would do 2 million albums. we broke over into Michael Jackson territory by crossing over to pop music.
Right.
So that was a rock pop crossover, and I think with Shania Twain, he definitely he brought country to the masses, because they wouldn't have listened to country music in Japan or England or whatever. It's like it's too kind of extreme in other ways. So he made it kind of palatable by combining the two. So I think really Mutt deserves the credit about.
Yeah, but I think also his association with you as kind of almost being Def Leppard's George Martin.
Absolutely.
You know, definitely helped them.
Yeah.
In the same way.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, did you feel when you did the Taylor Swift, did you think, well, they're stealing our stuff anyway, we might as well kind of get on it?
What was kind of really weird as we was working the songs out, you know, with Taylor and everything, we'd go, you'd recognise them. She grew up a huge Def Leppard fan.
Right.
Because her mum was a massive Def Leppard fan. So you hear this and you go, hang on a minute, this sounds familiar. And it was because she'd listened to it so much, so there was a bit of that in there. So that was a really nice compliment, really.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Now you've got your own band, and it's a bit of a strange mix, if you don't mind me saying. There's obviously yourself, but there's Paul Cook from the Sex Pistols, and you've got Simon Laffey from Girl, and the band's called, as you said earlier, Man-Raze. And I know you did a CD a couple of years ago. Is that just like something a little bit of fun? Are you gigging around LA, or what is it?
No, we actually we done a tour last year. We done the Alice Cooper tour in England, actually.
Oh, okay.
Which was great. We got album for a second material. It's just a matter of when and where we're going to record it.
Right.
We've got a song coming out in England, actually. There's a movie called I Superbiker, which is a documentary about superbike racing, about 4 guys, and we've got a theme song on that, so that's pretty cool.
Excellent. And so that's just something that you try and fit in. Can you tell us a little bit about the style of music? And
it's the best thing. Someone else described it as a cross between the Police and the Foo Fighters.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so it's a 3-piece, but it kind of it's a bit more aggressive, it's edgy, it's a little bit punky at times, but it goes to dub reggae, it's like full-on art of rock. So it's a lot of fun, and we try and avoid, like, because I sing so much on Def Leppard stuff, we try and avoid all the harmonies and stuff.
Right, to make it to something a little bit different. There's no point in doing the same thing. And it's interesting, a lot of people may not know, but when I listen to your guitar playing, I do really hear that Andy Summers influence. And I'm not necessarily all the time, and maybe more in the writing.
Absolutely. Well, the Police are my favourite band, so that's where that comes from. I definitely got so much from listening to those.
Yeah, and I sort of feel if Andy Summers had a bigger overdrive pedal, he might be
absolutely.
He might be kind of doing more what you're doing, but it works great though. Those kind of lines with the chords and everything. And tell me about those arrangements. How do you come up with those really nice? Some of those guitar arrangements are just fabulous, you know, and they work so well.
I'm fortunate with the 2 bands, you know, because if it's really basic or simple, it's a Man-Raze song. But I think again, you know, just being open-minded about what you let in.
Right.
I always listen to like tons of different types of music. I mean, someone said, "What do you listen to?" Like, last week I was listening to Talvin sing, techno stuff, and a lot of funk. You know, like 70s funk. You know, like Sly and the Family Stone, and more so a bit more R&B, but like some of the Earth, Wind and Fire stuff, which was still funk, but great songs. So I love that. So you let that in.
Yeah, not a million miles away from Def Leppard.
Very similar to Def Leppard. I'm glad you said that, because I mentioned that the other day. I said Earth, Wind and Fire are very much like Def Leppard.
Yeah, I think so.
The songs, the vocal harmonies, it's done in a funk kind of way.
And everything in its place.
Absolutely.
Everything in its place. And when I say that to people look at me like I'm crazy.
I'm really glad you said that, because we were talking about that.
I think you're the same, just, you know, obviously it's a different style of music, but I think the thinking is the thinking is the same. Now, you've been with Jackson. A lot of people, I know, seen you for Jackson, but you've been with Jackson a long time
25 years, I think.
25 years.
Longer than that, 26 years.
And have you got? I know you've had a model for a while. Which I think is called the PC1. The PC1. Anything you can tell us about happening there?
The PC1 is you know, in the 80s everyone had hybrid Strats, which was really a Strat that sounded like a Les Paul and was easier to play with the knobs out of the way, so you could really get to it. The PC1, we kept doing that when Strat hybrids became unpopular. I said, well, you know, I love this thing, and the whammy bar's better. It's a Floyd Rose, but it's better than it was. Everything about it kept improving, and in the sound I had a sustainer on it, which I still do. The new PC1s, they're just killer. But I wanted to do something a little bit different as well. I wanted a neck through, and for it to look a little different. You know, I didn't want it to be a Strat hybrid. It's it's its own entity.
Yeah, it's got its own look.
Yeah.
And what's the body made of? It's
this mahogany with a maple top.
with a maple cap and a maple neck.
Yeah.
Big frets. I didn't get a chance to.
Jumbos,
Nice jumbos.
yeah. There's 3 different types of the ones that's out there, but yeah, jumbo frets. Yeah.
And just want to ask you, what amps are you using now? Because I know you've been through a few things over the years.
I have, and the interesting thing about that is that whatever I plug into it sounds exactly the same. I done a thing the other day, and it was a software-based, it's called AmpKit. And I heard the thing back and I was like, well, it sounds exactly the same as my Marshall or exactly the same as my Fender, whatever I'd be using. A lot of the time I use a Fender Cyber Twin. You know, I do little gigs or like little thing. I done a Jimmy Fallon show a few weeks ago and I had the little Fender Cyber Twin and that was great. With Def Leppard I use a Marshall JPM rack mount with a Randall solid state power amp that I've had since the 80s. The new Def Leppard album I'm using Guitar Rig 4.
Oh, okay.
So software based, and it sounds exactly the same as when I'm using the Marshall or the Fender, which is really interesting.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Now, I hope I've gained a little bit of credibility because I'm going to lose it all with this next question.
Okay.
Because I don't know, I've got to ask you, and I'm sure you've been asked a million times, how did you come up with the name Def Leppard?
Joe, it was a art school project,
right?
And he had to make a poster. And I guess it was a spoof on Led Zeppelin that's spelt wrong.
Oh,
I think.
Right.
But it was this poster and he had it, and when the band formed, he said, "Oh, I've got this poster," and that was it, really.
And that was it. And he just kind of did a funny name for his project, and somebody said, "Hey,
we've already got a poster made." Yeah, on the first
we're halfway there. Well, listen, Phill, it's been absolutely brilliant talking to you.
Cheers,
and thank you so much for your time.
Cheers.
I know you're really busy today, so you've been great taking time out to talk to us. And all the best with your projects, and all the best with the new album when it comes out, and the tour, and the fitness. And
and I've got a record label coming out.
Oh, tell us about that.
Muda Music.
What is it?
Muda.
Music.
Moodah, and it's downloads. And me and my friend CJ Vanston, we started this thing up, and it'd be one track at a time. We're going to do albums as well.
Right.
Collaborations with other artists. The first few songs are going to be us with other artists and stuff, and then we're going to start putting other bands out as well. So it's really cool.
And is that moodamusic.com?
Yeah.
moodamusic.com. That's where you go get all your stuff. And do you have your own website that we can find out about you?
Yeah, there's a philcollen.com and there's the Facebook page as well. So,
okay, great.
That's all up there.
I'll be sending you a request soon.
Okay, excellent.
Right, again, thanks very much. Thanks for your time, Phill, and all the best for the future.
Thanks.